Geek to me radio, da 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 da. Geek to me radio, da 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 da. Welcome, geeks and nerds, girls and boys, to a brand new edition of Geek to Me Radio. Today we are joined by three people. We've got Nigel Twumasi talking about his project, Sirius Through the Fog, from Mayamada Media. We'll also be talking with actor Aaron Dalla Villa about his movie Pledge and his upcoming projects. And finally, we'll talk to Jim Ousley about Butcher Queen news. Stand by. We're talking TV, comics and movies, and video games. And if you don't know Star Trek from Star Wars, we'll try to explain. There are 12 doctors, 4 Hogwarts houses, 1 ring rules them all. To be the greatest Pokemon master, you must catch them all. You must catch them all. Try to catch them all. Gotta catch them all. Gotta catch them all. And for those of you tuning in to us for the first time, welcome to Geek to Me Radio. I am your host, James Enstall, and we've got 3 guests this hour. Without further ado, we're going to jump right in. Right now, we're talking with a previous guest, been on the show a couple times, about some great projects they've had from Mayamada. This is Nigel Twumasi. How are you?
Cool. Yeah, I'm doing well, James. Thanks for having me on again.
Anytime. Always love your projects, and you've got a brand new one. The Kickstarter is up and running as of September 3rd for Sirius Through the Fog, which I think is obviously very timely based on the content. Tell people a little bit about the project.
Yeah, so Sirius is a story from our universe of characters and stories. So just a brief background for people who might not be familiar with our brand, but Mayamada is a manga brand, and we've created this idea of Mayamada being a television network where each of the shows, or the stories of the shows, are told through manga-style comics that we produce. So Sirius is a volume that we produced towards the end of 2016, sorry. And it's a story about a young rabbit. So all of our characters are animals or anthropomorphic characters. A young rabbit called Blake, and he's from a small sort of poor neighborhood, but he has these big dreams of creating a business and doing a whole entrepreneurial thing. And sort of proving himself in the big city called the jungle. So he sets off on this adventure. He picks up different members of his team. They have to overcome challenges and sort of face adversity. He's that kind of having a goal and going after it. So we produced that volume, and it's kind of sort of loosely, obviously, a lot of creative license, but based on ourselves and our own journey as we sort of developed and learned along with our business. So fast forward to sort of 2020, kind of know how that's turning out. Yeah. And yeah, just really being sort of personally affected, sort of from a business perspective, personally just by the sort of pandemic and sort of that lockdown period, the whole social distancing thing, and just seeing sort of what I was going through, what other people were experiencing, and wanted to produce a story from that. So partly to trying to get things in my own head, like sort through those thoughts and feelings, but maybe produce something that could help other people sort of focus on positive outcomes and lessons. So I thought we'd make a story in that serious world where the characters would have to face up to a pandemic that just completely dashes all the plans they thought they had, and then see how they deal with that from a business and sort of mental toll kind of perspective as well.
And it's interesting because I know a lot of people I've seen creatively in television, in movies, they've talked about it in comic books. The question is, do we deal with the pandemic going forward? Like for TV shows that are starting back up, do we pretend like it didn't happen? Do we kind of ignore it? So there is that kind of huge question, because this is something unlike any of us have ever faced before, with the lockdowns and all the restrictions. So that's kind of interesting that I think, as far as I know, you are the first person to creatively address the issue of the pandemic.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's a good point you mentioned, actually. I think it's something like just so unusual and unprecedented that it will like you can't just ignore it, like, because it's something so universal as well, that everyone in some way is touched by it. So I heard something on I think a podcast a while ago where they talked about this being sort of our generation of World War II, where it's not obviously not the same type of thing, but in terms of like we can't go back. Like, it's a landmark kind of thing where it changes things going forward. So I think there'll be more sort of stories and that deal with the situation in different ways.
Yeah, and I think the last, the big pandemic of 1918, I think the last time I saw that referred to was during Downton Abbey, but that's set in the time period. So it would be interesting to see, 20 years from now, 40 years from now, how people will look back and remember 2020. It's very interesting times in which we live.
Yeah, very interesting.
And with Mayamada, you've done so many other things. I think the last time we had you on, we were talking about Hot Lunch. You guys do all sorts of creative projects. Tell a little bit just in general about Mayamada and just how other projects have been going for you guys.
Yeah, so definitely it's been a weird time. I keep saying it and it never quite wrapped my head around it. But so like I said, our brand is a manga brand, but alongside that we do other activities that kind of fit in. So as we started the manga and we started developing stories, I started working with young people in schools and colleges and youth centres to deliver like workshops, creative workshops, where young people would have a go at creating their own comics and characters and stories. And I wanted to do this because just sort of based like my own path through education and seeing how creativity was not necessarily respected and how it was like needed. It's not respected at school level, not given the time, but then you kind of need those skills when you go in later into life. So I wanted something that would help build creative confidence in young people. So we've been developing that. I can't remember when I last came on and spoke about it, but we've probably since rebranded it as the Storyboard, sort of program of workshops. And like many things this year, working on how we can do that online and deliver like sessions online. And then the other part to the brand is our gaming events called Gamepad, where we wanted to sort of bring together a community around our brand using video games, because that's something that sort of appeals to our much of our audience. So we set off on that path, delivering events, and the idea is to use video games as a way to promote inclusion and diversity and sort of break the stereotype of who plays games and what it means to be a quote-unquote gamer. So yeah, that's been going well. Again, online events is now the thing.
Right.
So we've done two, and kind of using it as a platform to foster that inclusion, but also provide work experience opportunities for young people to get into the games industry. So those are some conversations that I've thankfully still been able to have even through the pandemic about how we kind of create an impact on that level.
And obviously the online things, we've seen them with virtual cons, and obviously the events you're doing have been a lifesaver in many instances. But also I know with all the lockdowns and everything due to the pandemic, a lot of people like yourself who are creative types have had extra time to create now, because what else are we going to do? So
yeah,
how has
exactly.
the pandemic affected your output as far as the comics and the projects like that? Has it been just you've got more ideas now than you have time to print them? How's it been going for you?
Yeah, that's a good question, because it's not always as simple as having more time. And I was thinking about this like during the pandemic. So like on one level, yes, there is more time because you can't sort of, at one period we literally couldn't, go out and do anything. So it just gives you more time. But then I think, like for me as a small business, sort of very small company and self-employed, it's slightly different, where I didn't have the the somewhat relative security of being furloughed. So we had that here in the UK, where people were furloughed, essentially paid to stay at home away from work. I didn't have that. I just had all my business stop. And sort of it was tough, because in March, when things really started to hit, it was like the realization that, as a business, most of what we do to make money depends on us being in a room with other people, whether it's a workshop or our event or going to conventions, and that all stopped. So that was quite scary because that literally business stopped. So again, more time, nothing but time to sort of think about how, not just how sort of going to get through and survive this period, but I felt that this is something that it's not about going back. Like I said, it's not about going back to where it was. I feel things have changed going forward. It's like, how do you now adapt to that? How do you like literally change your business so it's more resilient, so it doesn't rely on just like these certain ways of making money, and then particularly with how do you bring in that online component. So from that perspective, a lot of thinking, a lot of time to think, sort of, and then battling with like, you know, the mental toll of dealing with the business side, and then sort of socially, how do you, when you can't see people, and then sort of creatively with stories. I think, to be honest, it's only in a recent sort of month or two that I've really started thinking about stories, and like how putting stories together, obviously with the Kickstarter and everything, just because, yeah, just wasn't in that space, despite having sort of that relative more time, just not being necessarily in that space. So yeah, it's been a sort of weird up and down roller coaster period.
Well, it's very interesting, though, that you guys, you obviously have pulled through. You're still here, which is great, especially with all the great things that you do for just entertainment and also for the community at large, like you've mentioned the project you guys have going on. And the Kickstarter, I saw the goal has been made, and you're zeroing in on that first stretch goal, which you still got time to do it. I think you still got about a little over a week, yeah?
Yeah, just maybe like 13, 12 days, something like that. So yeah, there's still time. I thought, like, I mean, the first thing is like we hit it, so that's always a good thing.
Right.
And then just trying to think about what we can do beyond that. So something we did with our larger volumes is create collector's editions. So this story is like a smaller sort of comic size story, but I think if we can hit this stretch goal, we can sort of bring some of that extra content, so like sketches, artist writer commentary. So me being a writer and our artist Penali. I also wanted to think about like variant cover artwork with different artists. So that's something I'm going to update the page with. So hopefully we can keep like some momentum going and get towards this stretch goal before the end of the campaign.
And obviously, with all the good work you're doing, it's easy to do some collaborations with other people. Talk a little bit about collaborating with Mayamada and some other organizations.
Yeah, so I mean, like, as we started the Gamepad event, like I said, it's kind of like a fun day or fun time in the stream where people can come enjoy games and promoting that inclusion and diversity. And because of that, we've been able to link with different people in the industry, because I mean, even before this year, the idea of bringing sort of more diverse groups into the games industry has been a topic of conversation. And because of the work that I do through workshops, I've been able to go to like different places, different areas of London primarily, but speak to sort of groups that are underrepresented in the games industry. So we've been able to work with people like Nintendo has supported our event previously, Ubisoft, and more recently people like Yuki, who are the UK trade body for interactive entertainment and video games. So that's been a really big one, because they've been able to help us sort of get connected with other high-profile people in the games industry. So I've been lucky enough to be able to like interview a bunch of people for the 2 online events that we've had, because of their support and sort of sponsorship with other organizations as well. So yeah, it's been really good. So I'm hoping like before the end of the year, we'll be able to sort of build on those collaborations and bring more people on board.
And like I said, it's very timely, because I think this is the only project I've seen that's actually dealing with characters dealing with what we're all dealing with. So it's very timely and interesting. And again, it's serious Through the Fog. If you look up that, or I assume it's under Mayamada also on Kickstarter, we'll put a link in the show notes. So if any of you want to click on that and donate to help them meet that first and hopefully second and third stretch goals, that would be great. And if people are more interested in learning about Mayamada and your work, where can they find you? What's the website? You got some social handles and things like that?
Yes, yeah, we've got a few websites actually. So we've got Mayamada.com. That's probably the best place where you can find links to everywhere. We've also, if you are particularly interested in video games, we do have our website gamepad.events, which is where we focus on the gaming event that we do. We had one this month. Our next one will be in like the new year, but we're also thinking about different activities we can do in the meantime, like talks, interviews, panels, things like that. And then on social media, main places are Twitter, so Mayamada, Mayamada on Twitter, and Mayamada Tees on Instagram, because someone already had Mayamada when I went to sign up. So I had to add tees on there because we do like merchandise and T-shirts and stuff, and that's the first thing that came to mind.
Perfect. That's a great thing. And continued success. I'll watch the Kickstarter to see how far along you get. I'm looking forward to it. And again, if you're wanting to donate to get into that goal, just go to Kickstarter and look for Mayamada. It's serious through the fog. Nigel Twumasi, as always, it's a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you so much for being on the show. My thanks again to Nigel Twumasi, and my apologies. I should have aired this segment last week. I had trouble accessing the audio, so that Kickstarter is over, but you can go to the website and get a lot of their stuff. Support them. They do a lot of great things at Mayamada. We're going to take our first break, come back and talk with actor Aaron Dalla Villa right after this, so stand by.
Hi, this is Barry Bostwick, and damn it, Janet, would you just keep listening and come back to Geek to Me Radio, will you?
I've one thing to say, and that's damn it, Janet, I love you.
Welcome back to our second segment here on Geek to Me Radio. We've got Aaron Dalla Villa on deck talking about some of his projects. Very excited to talk to this guy. He's a true actor's actor, and you'll hear why as we speak with him. Right now, we've got actor Aaron Dalla Villa on the phone talking to him about several of his projects. I just watched Pledge, which can only be described, in my estimation, as a mixture of The Skulls and Hostel. Aaron Dalla Villa, how are you?
I'm good, man. Thank you so much for having me, James.
Of course. It was such an intense movie. The publicist was kind enough to send me a screener, and I'm a horror fan to begin with, but this just kind of, it's one of those enclosed places. It's tight. Every scene feels like it's just dripping with tension. That must have been, from an actor's standpoint, a lot of fun to film.
Oh my God, man. It was an absolute blast, man. It's one of my favorite roles.
And how did you get the part? Talk a little bit about finding the project, auditioning for it. Talk a little bit about getting the part of Max.
Yeah, so check this out. I didn't even audition through an agent or a manager. I had those at the time. This was a complete self-submission that I found on casting networks. I saw the breakdown for the character. I knew it was perfect. I knew I could nail it. I submitted for it. I got the audition. I ended up walking into this apartment with these two dudes, and we did the scene, and next thing you know, we're doing an improv scene, and I'm pouring water on Zach's face, and we got all that on camera. And they tell me that the moment I left the audition, they said he's got the part. They didn't see any other actors for the role of Max. They immediately cast me. I was their first audition for the movie, and I was their first booking for the movie. They immediately cast me for the part. They later told me.
Wow.
That's what I'm saying, man. Don't sleep. And you think this is some little indie horror movie, man, don't sleep on these projects, man. I had an agent at the time telling me this isn't going to go anywhere. You're not going to get picked up. You're not going to get distribution. You're only going to VOD. And I said, you watch, man, we're going to get picked up. We're going to go places with this. It got picked up by IFC Midnight, and it's on Hulu. And it's one of my favorite things that I've done out there, man. And it's brought me so many things. So don't sleep on the little indie movies, man.
That's right. A lot of times, and I've talked about this with friends, these indie movies are in so many ways and so many times better than the big house production things that are coming out. It's amazing.
Thank you. Because the filmmaking progress, there's a lot of bureaucracy when the budgets get higher.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And plus the people who write the stuff like this and like yourself, obviously there's a hunger to want to do these things. And that definitely comes across in the writing, in the directing, in the way it's shot and the acting. It was a great movie. I can't recommend Pledge high enough.
Thank you, man. And, you know, you brought up that hunger detail. That's what I'm saying, man. You know, I keep telling myself, no matter how much success I end up achieving in this business, I always want to stay hungry. I never want to have that complacent moment where I stop fighting. That's why specifically I talk about this in my next place or whatever. If I ever have, you know, the big mansion and stuff, I want to have a room modeled after one of these small apartments that I used to live in and do my work in there for the films that I'm going out for, because that'll remind me about the hunger that I was feeling during those days, man. And that'll keep me pushing for excellence. And
that's a great thing too. A lot of people, I'm not to obviously name names, but I think it's just human nature. People kind of forget after they get complacent, they get comfortable. And I think it's not a knock on anybody, but that does happen. And I just read Christopher Eccleston's biography, and he mentioned Albert Finney was one of those actors who never forgot his working class roots in Salford, England. He remembered where he came from. And I think that's one of the reasons Albert Finney had such an incredible career. So I can only assume we'll see more great things from you.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I think it's definitely key as a performer, as an artist, as a human, that we never forget our roots. We honor and respect that. And that'll keep us moving towards giving a great product.
Now, you originally went to school. You studied music and dance training, the classical, modern dance, ballet, everything like that. Have you ever found yourself disappointed that you aren't able to use more of that in the roles you've gotten? Because you've gotten some great roles on a lot of great movies, a lot of great TV shows like Gotham, which was a phenomenal show. Have you ever felt like you wish you could get more roles toward the dance and musical side?
Well, here's the thing, my man, is that I've done off-Broadway. So that quench, that hunger for that was satisfied. I was working on a project actually that was being workshopped right before the COVID shutdown, where I utilized my dance and acting physicality. And I was in an off-Broadway show for 2 years ago, where I was literally exercising my dance training and acting training. Now in the film aspect, yes, I definitely want to do some sort of like La La Land-esque or something even grittier. I want like Fight Club meets dance, meets Black Swan or something. That would be dope. That just like these sick dance scenes with just these hardcore acting scenes. I would love. I'm actually shooting one of my own projects that I'm developing with a filmmaker friend of mine. I have a 16 millimeter Parabolex camera, and we want to do a little black and white dance short because I've always wanted to do a dance film. And you're right, I haven't done that yet. So I do want to do that.
And looking over your IMDb resume, which is very impressive, you've got a lot of great roles. Is there a certain thing that draws you to a certain role? Obviously, a lot of actors are just grateful for the work and they want to act. But it seems like looking over your resume, you've been slightly choosy. You haven't just taken any old role. You've taken some really great parts. Is there a certain thing that attracts you to a role or a project as an actor?
I really like the wild cards, man. I kind of like the people that are on the outskirts of society. Like Max, for example, even though he is up in this upper echelon Skull and Bones type, he is the wild card of the group. And just to take on someone who has that confliction is really awesome. And all those small things, to take on the role of Dennis, who is famous for creating rap and jazz styles, that musical part of me came out and I said, wow, this guy's a total wild card. How can I make someone likable who comes off douchey? So that was my job, to make him endearing and lovable so that people don't hate him. And I'm told that people love him. So yeah, it's anything that's like challenging. Like one of my favorite actors is James McAvoy, and I think I'm a good type for all the kind of parts he plays. I think he's one of the most underrated actors, man. I think he's one of the best actors working today. I mean, you just see him in Split. To do a movie like that and to take on those roles like him, that would be, oh man.
I feel like Split was one of the most slept on movies of that year. It came out in January, and I was telling everyone about it, and nobody saw it. He wasn't nominated for anything after he played like 8 different roles. It was incredible. Yeah, dude. No, he actually does a masterclass of acting in that movie, and he was great and wanted. James McAvoy's great in everything he does, man. You know, and him and Christian Bale, that their roles. I mean, those are the actors that I look up to, and I'm like, yeah, man. And they really get into the parts. Like Christian Bale, famously for American Psycho, lost all that weight and then put on all that muscle to be Batman. And have you ever had to go through any terrible extremes like that yet in your career? We'll pause right there, come back, and continue our talk with Aaron Dalla Villa. Stand by.
Hi, this is Meatloaf, and you're listening to Geek to Me Radio.
Welcome back to our third segment here on Geek to Me Radio. This segment brought to you by Marcus Theaters. MarcusTheaters.com is the website. I know a lot of people are saddened to hear that No Time to Die, the next James Bond movie, Daniel Craig's final outing, was moved from November of this year, pushed back to April of 2021. But there are still a lot of good movies out there to be seen. Marcus Theaters wants you to come see them. This is the time to go see movies. If you need to get out and just spend some time out of the house, you can do it safely at Marcus Theaters. I personally have gone to a few of the Marcus locations around the St. Louis area. They're safe. They've got kick plates on the door. You can put your foot on them and open the door. You don't have to touch the door handles. They've got the app, the Marcus Theaters app. You can order your concessions ahead of time. They'll be waiting for you, so it's a contactless experience. You can get your tickets online, and they've really done everything they can. They've gone above and beyond the guidelines that were set in place for them to reopen to make sure that you felt safe, that their workers are safe there, and it's a good time to go see movies. Get out and support them. These are the kind of people you want to support, people who are doing this to bring back movies safely. Go see Tenet. Go see Unhinged. Go see The New Mutants. A lot of good movies in theaters to be seen, and I encourage you to do it at a Marcus Theaters. MarcusTheaters.com is the website. Check it out. Order your tickets right there online, and, of course, download the Marcus app. And you can order your concessions and tickets and all sorts of other cool things right from the app. Very proud to have Marcus Theaters as the official movie sponsor of Geek to Me Radio. Before we took that last break, we were continuing our chat with actor Aaron Dalla Villa, and we asked him if, talking about Christian Bale for the extremes he went through between American Psycho and then going into Batman Begins, if he's done any extreme physical changes for any roles in his career.
Yeah, I did it. They call me crazy, man. I did that for a short film.
Oh, really?
I did that for a short film that wasn't paying me much money. And the director literally said, hey, we're shooting a movie, a short film. You're on a stranded island. I want you to gain weight and lose 10 pounds, 15 pounds in 2 weeks. Do you want to do it? I said, screw it, man. Let's do it. So I did it, man. It was awful, dude. I gained so much respect for the actors that had to do that, because I literally tried the Christian Bale diet. I didn't eat anything. I did HIIT cardio on an empty stomach. It was a pain, my man. It was really tough. That was the most tough thing I've ever done in my career. It was that. You have to love acting to be able to pursue those kinds of lengths in order to take on these parts. I think that's kudos to you for doing that. That's a lot of people probably wouldn't have for just a short movie. That's great. Thank you. As an actor, obviously, you're kind of always looking at the next project, be it something that you're creating or something you've got on your horizon you want to do. What would be, let's say, name 3 directors on your bucket list you'd like to work with in your career. Tarantino. I don't know the directors that are involved in video games, but I want to do a video game, dude. Like the whole motion capture, all of it? Oh, yeah. I was up for Far Cry 5, actually. I was up for a role in that. Yeah, it came down to me and this other guy. They ended up going with the guy who was more local. But, man, I wanted to do that part so bad. He was, like, part of this cult, and he was this guy who was, like, really off-kilter. I want to do a video game because I'm a big God of War fan. You know, I love God of War. If I could do a part in God of War, I would lose my mind. So that, Tarantino, and I want to do, I want to do something like I want to work with the Safdie brothers, man. I want to either work with the Safdie brothers or something affiliated with the Matrix.
Yeah. And you've got a lot of things, obviously, I'm assuming because of COVID kind of shut down the world back in March, but you've got a lot of things in post-production and that are completed, just waiting to come out. So what have you been doing in the interim while the world's kind of waiting? Obviously, a lot of things have been shut down production-wise as far as filming and everything else. What have you been doing in the meantime?
Well, I'm very fortunate to say that I've been busy the entire COVID season with auditions.
Great.
I got into the voiceover game 2 years ago, and I just signed with an agency across the board, and they kept me busy the entire COVID season going out for audition for voiceovers. I booked 2 voiceovers for Starburst and Hollister over COVID. So I'm very grateful for that. And I'm shooting a spot on a Netflix show in October, actually. So that's another booking. And I just got another booking for the Palm Springs Film Festival. I think I'm going to be like introducing it or something. I just got the email. So I've been really fortunate during this time. But while the on-camera stuff was slower a couple months back, and while I was only getting those voiceover auditions, I decided to shift into releasing my music. And because I'd been sitting on these lyrics, I was in a boy band before it fell apart. I said, man, I'm not going to waste those 2 years I spent in the boy band, wasting that craft that I was, that skill that I was crafting. I'm going to put it out there. So I decided to put it out there, and I'm happy. And I just have 3 songs on Spotify, more on the way. It's really cool. These movies I got coming out are actually asking for my musical abilities as well.
Really? Nice.
Like all those small things. I actually wrote lyrics for 2 of the songs that are sampled in the movie. So I have rights to 2 songs once the movie is out that I can put under my catalog. And then I'm being asked for the other project to write a song. I wrote a song specifically for it. And then another one, I wrote a song for side promo for the movie. So I'm really happy I'm being able to marry those 2 things, because I'm going to cross people who are fans of the acting over to the music, and people who are fans of the music over to the acting.
Okay, so now this begs the question, because you're singing, songwriting, dancing, ballet and classical type dance, acting, you've directed stuff. What don't you do? That's a lot to take on, Aaron. Come on, what don't you do?
Sleep.
It sounds like it. So what was it that was the spark that kind of made you get into, I guess, at first music and dance, but then into acting? What was that spark that kind of ignited this flame within you?
It was sheer desperation to keep moving forward, because I had a slight injury in dance, and I said, what do? I thought I was going to be a dancer. I thought this was going to be my life. What do? Screw it. I'll act. And I just jumped on the computer. I was living in an apartment at that time with a roommate. I didn't even have a room. I lived in the open space on a mattress, living out of 2 suitcases. Hopped on the computer on Craigslist, and I just started submitting for projects. And then one thing led to another. I just learned how to do it. I just hustled. And
I think that's a great story. That's how it started with you, and look at all the success you've had. I think that's an incredible story.
It is, because I tell myself I'll never forget where I came from. I mean, I've been in situations where I've been kicked out of living environments. I wasn't able to get back into the apartment. I was homeless for a time. I had to go live in a hostel. And then when I finally got my own apartment in New York, in Manhattan, it's like I walked into the space with my suitcases, and I literally broke down in tears, because I was like, man, I can finally build some roots. And that was when my life really started to move forward. I stopped being a gypsy, and I'll never forget where I come from, man. I'll never forget that.
And a lot of great projects under your belt. Again, to kind of circle it back to Pledge, which, again, you said it's on Hulu. It's a great, if you haven't watched it already and you're listening to this, go check it out, especially if you are a fan of the horror genre. It's great. When you go to a dark character like Max in that movie, where do you draw from? What kind of, where are you pulling ideas from for this type of character? We'll pause there, come back, and finish our talk with Aaron Dalla Villa. Stand by.
Well, I finally found what I'm looking for, but if they give a chance, I'll end it for sure. Surely would. Baby, how can I could? Now it's up to you,
Hi, this is John Emmett Tracy from iZombie, Supernatural, and Assassin's Creed 3. You are listening to Geek to Me Radio.
And we're back on Geek to Me Radio. Finishing up this segment, we'd asked Aaron Dalla Villa right before we went to break, where does he go to draw on these dark characters like Max from Pledge? Where does he find that dark edge inside him?
Say, I grew up with someone who exhibited those traits of rage, seeing that person growing up who was within my family, and I saw that. So that rage was in me, that was in me. And all I had to do was kind of just tap into that. And I use music to tap into those sort of characters. Music helps me. Every character has a certain rhythm. They have a certain sound. They have a certain music to them. And they all prefer a certain type of music. And tapping into that false power makes you feel powerful too, but it's a complete false sense of power.
And as I said, it was such a great movie. What did this project teach you as an actor while working on Pledge?
Wow, that's a great question. How free I could be on set in the improv. How I think of it to this day. Like there's some moments in that movie that I'm literally like, I can't recreate today. That I'm just so free in that moment. It taught me how to really let go. And I'm still working on this every day, to let go and just be. Just be. Let go and just be. Because there were moments on the set of Pledge where, we're shooting this movie and I'm not like thinking, oh, I'm going to do this thing. No, I'm just going to go there and just have fun, and I don't really care. And it came off great. So, learning how to let go of the control that many of us actors struggle with, trying to get it right. That's what I learned. And and also that I really enjoyed method acting. I really enjoy it because you live and breathe the character outside of the confines of the script. The script has a certain logic that follows. I mean, how does this character eat breakfast? How do they listen to music? How do they put on their shoes in the morning? And being method with something, without hurting people, because some people go method and it's like, it's just, you shouldn't have done that. Right. That's just rude. Yeah. I think we know who we're talking about here.
Right.
We both, I don't need to say who, but yeah, it's just gross. But, you do it, you get to experience other parts of who this person is outside of the script, and you really get to grow an understanding of that person.
And then with all the projects you've done, you've worked with some fantastic actors themselves. Who would you say, acting-wise, what person have you learned the most from as a fellow actor?
I think so far in my career, it was the most recent movie I did. It's called All Those Small Things. And I was working with James Faulkner. Man, he's just on another level. He takes his time. He's not afraid to sit in the moment and be completely comfortable. He's not rushing. He's just there. We had this scene in the theater. I don't want to reveal the part of the movie, but I come in and I show him something and it doesn't go the way I wanted it to go. And then I come up to him and I shake his hand, and he dropped his guard to a level of, I've never seen another person be that vulnerable to me. And I literally saw his soul. And I was like, oh, that's why you're who you are, because you're able to drop your shield and be that vulnerable. That was freaking beautiful, man. And I learned so much working with him. He takes his time, and he also fights for his craft. He'll be like, no, can we get another take? I need to do another take. Like, this is my work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you have to sometimes do that and be like, you know, no, I get another take, please. You know, you have to, it's a respect for the craft and the quality of work that you want to put out there.
And that's one of the ones, all those small things that you have that's completed should be coming out here hopefully fairly soon, along with a lot of other projects. Is there anything that you're most looking forward to as far as the stuff? Like I said, you've got 4 or 5 projects that are either in post-production or completed and should be coming out. Is there one that you really want people to watch for that you're most proud of that's coming out?
I got a project that I haven't seen. Oh, all of them I haven't seen. I got a project being directed by Daniel Robbins, the director of Pledge, that I'm terrified of. But people have seen it and said it's awesome. And it's an untitled project. And it's a secret project that I'm most excited about and absolutely terrified about. And I'm just gonna say that.
Okay.
But I honestly think it's gonna blow people away.
So after that comes out and it's no longer a secret, can we get you back on the show to talk about it?
100%.
Brilliant. That's perfect. And let everybody know where they can find you if they want to keep up with you on social media, websites, what people can look for you as far as online.
Yeah, they can follow me at my social media channels at Aaron Dalla Villa. I'm most active on Instagram. I go live at 5 on Sundays, every Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to connect with fans and followers and take questions. So I think I'm actually might be turning that into a podcast called Live at 5.
Nice.
I got that idea percolating and stuff, trying to marry all the birds, marry all the avenues of social media outlets. So at Aaron Dalla Villa on Instagram, check out my music, Dalla Villa on Spotify, hit the follow. I'm on YouTube as well. Check out Tucci and Jones. That's on YouTube as well. That's the web series I just dropped. And just Google me, Aaron Dalla Villa, and you'll see Pledge and Trick on Hulu.
Of course, there has to be a podcast because you don't have enough stuff going on.
I got the dude. I'm one of those guys, James, where I'll throw stuff at a wall just to see if it sticks.
Yeah, I get it.
That's how I got into acting. I started throwing it at a wall, seeing if it sticks, and it started. So I'm while I'm doing these live at 5s on Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm thinking, well, if I'm already going live and I'm already streaming live on YouTube, why don't I just turn the audio into a podcast?
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
It's right there, But I would try to, I would try to do an unedited podcast, but I don't think I'd be able to get away with an unedited podcast. I think I'd need some editing. Yeah.
The FCC is not as strict on those live things as far as streaming services yet, so I think you're probably okay.
Cool.
Well, it's been a blast talking to you. Like I said, loved your performance in Pledge as Max, and I can't wait to see these other projects you've got coming out. Aaron Dalla Villa, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, James. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you.
There he goes, Aaron Dalla Villa, phenomenal talent, really nice guy. Love talking to him. And be sure, please, to go check out his YouTube web series, Tucci and Jones. You can get that, as I said, on YouTube. And also go to Spotify and check out his new songs, the new songs from Aaron Dalla Villa. Check them out on Twitter and Instagram as well. We're going to take our final break, come back and chat with Jim Ousley about his updates for the Butcher Queen projects. Stand by.
Hi, this is Tova Felcher from The Walking Dead. I play Deanna Monroe, and I'm happy to be on Geek to Me Radio.
Here we are in October. Nothing says October like The Butcher Queen. We've had Jim Ousley and his artist collaborator Ben Sawyer on the air before, and Jim called in, wanted to give us an update on what's going on with all things Butcher Queen. Right now, we're talking with Jim Ousley. You've been on the show before. You know, we've talked about Rough and Tumble, Dead Palace, and of course, Butcher Queen. And he's got some more news. Perfect in time for the spooky season. Jim, how are you?
I'm doing great, and thanks for having me on again.
Absolutely. Always love talking about your projects. You and Ben always knock it out of the park. Now you've got the graphic novel being collected of the Butcher Queen coming out. Is that correct?
Yeah, it actually comes out on October 14th. It's a trade paperback. It's Butcher Queen Volume 1, Black Star City. And, it collects the first 4 issues of the series. And it's really great because we've got, like, some bonus stories in there. There's an art gallery and a cover gallery with Jim Foods art. And it's really, really going to be a fun package.
And for those of you who are kind of wondering about this, we've had, obviously, Jim on the show before talking about all the stuff he's done, Red 5, picking up the series and doing some a lot of fun stuff with that. And now you've got the sequel coming out in October as well.
Yeah, it's called Butcher Queen, Planet of the Dead. And it's Ben Sawyer and me, again, writing. He's doing the art. And, it's really great because it's, we learned so much from doing the first series. And this new series is quite a different animal altogether. We wanted, if we wanted to do another series, why do the same thing again, So this one is a little more expansive in its narrative vision. It's a story about 2 different dimensions, and it's about survival and family, and we're just really super pleased with it. It's turned out great.
And this can be, I guess, if people can pre-order it, they can probably go to Red 5 as a comic website where they can go pre-order the issue.
Yeah, absolutely. We always encourage people when they, if they're interested in the series, in their local comic shop. A lot of shops will be carrying it, across the country. But if your comic shop doesn't have it, you can go to red5comics.com in their store and you can pre-order it there. Or you can buy it there, the trade paperback or the new series. And there's also some exclusives on the Red 5 site as well, like exclusive variant covers and things of that nature. So either one of those would be great. But yeah, it's really a fun series. And I think what the most important difference between the 2 series is that on this one, on the first one, it was a lot darker and there was a lot of sort of the Sikio Butcher Queen Noirish inner dialogue stuff where you would hear, what she was thinking and everything else. And this one is much more dialogue driven, and it's much more about the camaraderie she has now with her team. And it's just a really, really fun story. It's also dark, but it's also got some humor and some nice twists that I think people will really enjoy.
Very cool. And yeah, obviously, please go to your local comic book store and solicit it. Make sure they have it ordered to let them know you want it so they can order it or at least get it in for you. I know, obviously, because of COVID, a lot of comic book stores, not only some places haven't reopened yet, but obviously some places have completely gone away, unfortunately. So if you do have a local comic book store, see if they can get this. Please support your local comic book store. But you can also, if you don't have that option, Red 5's website is the best way to do that. And you've got an event planned for here locally at Apotheosis Comics. I didn't say that right. How am I saying?
Apotheosis Comics.
Apotheosis? Yes.
On the south side. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that.
Well, we're just doing a special release party that kind of celebrates the release of the trade paperback collection of the first series and the debut of issue 1 of Butcher Queen, Planet of the Dead. So we're doing a socially distanced, COVID-minded release event. There we'll be signing books and doing giveaways of stickers and buttons, and we'll be having like variant cover issues to give away and things like that. But yeah, we're doing a socially distanced signing there. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's not going to be a thing where it's a big, party like it was before. It's going to be done very carefully and respectfully. We want everyone to be safe. So there's going to be sanitizer there and only a certain amount of people in the store at a time. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're just taking the care to make sure everybody's safe. But at the same time, we want folks to know that we've got these two things going on and coming out to people. So
that sounds
going to be fun.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And tell people where they can find you online as well, Jim.
I'm on Facebook and Twitter at Jim Ousley, Jimousely, and I'm on Instagram at radio_Jimbo. And Butcher Queen is across all platforms at ButcherQComic. And that's where you'll find us. And I want to say something really quick, too, for the issue 1. There's lots of cool variants by Alan Quay and Zach Howard. But on issue 1 in most stores, they'll either have the Tim Bradstreet variant, which is really cool, or the Benjamin Sawyer version. Now, the Benjamin Sawyer version, every issue of Butcher Queen Planet of the Dead, there's 4 issues in the series. They're going to be connecting covers, so they'll all create one big image, which is really cool. And I've seen the image, and it's awesome.
Very neat.
Just something to keep in mind when you're out there hunting for tissues and stuff.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm a sucker for variants, so I think that was directed directly at me, Jim. I feel targeted now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Perfect. Well, as always,
you know that.
Yeah, I know, of course. And it's always great to have you on. I love talking about the stuff that you guys do. It's a quality product, and if you're a comic book fan out there, you really need to make sure you go pick up the graphic novel and then get into the second series of Butcher Queen. Jim, thanks so much for your time today.
Thanks for having us on, man. You've been so supportive, and we always appreciate it.
Anytime. Anything I can do to help. Take care. That's going to do it for us. My thanks once again to Nigel Twumasi of Mayamada Media. Make sure you check out their website and get some cool manga from them. Thanks again to Aaron Dalla Villa. Check out Pledge on Hulu. And, of course, Tucci and Jones, the web series on YouTube, and his new songs on Spotify. And please go check out Jim Ousley's project, The Butcher Queen. If you already got some of those, fantastic. Make sure you grab that trade paperback. Until next week, my friends.
It's not in the way you watch iZombie. It's not in the way you watch The Flash. It's not in the way you love Scotty Young Arts. It's not in the way you play Mario Kart. It's not in the way you look when you make Game of Thrones references. That's a show. This is Geek to Me Radio. That's a show. This is Geek to Me Radio.
Thank you, Milky Way Galaxy. Good night. Hi, this is James Enstall, host of Geek to Me Radio, and in honor of my favorite Themyscirian, I've decided to become an Amazon warrior.
Hera, give me strength.
The next time you want to buy something from Amazon, go to geektomeradio.com first and click on our Amazon affiliate link. Simply shop like you normally would, and when you check out, a small percentage will go towards supporting the show. So remember, the next time you want to search Amazon for the latest Wonder Woman graphic novel or parts for your invisible jet, click through from geektomeradio.com first.
The world was in peril. Would you have me stand by and do nothing?